the shot horse. Jennifer said, you know, Menifee shot Red, and he buried him too. He said Red tore his fence, so he shot him. I said, our horse? You mean Menifee shot our horse? What kind of bastard would do something like that? I can't believe it. The bastard must be nuts. I'll call the sheriff. Shooting horses that ain't lame can't be legal. It can't be legal. What kind of fucking fence can mean that much to a man anyway? Then Luke said, Menifee didn't shoot Red. He just said he shot Red. He said Red's behind his barn and Red tore up his fence trying to get to his mare. I said, what the hell's going on here? Why would Menifee tell Jennifer he shot Red and buried him? Don't he know how people feel about horses? He'd been lynching for saying he shot a horse and wasn't lame. Why, the sheriff would have been too late to take him in after the neighbors heard what happened. Then I calmed down and I went to see Menifee. He was as nice as could be. Asked if I owned Red, that chestnut coat. Said he was out back of his barn and acting wild. I brought some feed, walked out in the field where Red was running. It was pitch black, but Red heard me and smelled the feed. He ate like he was starved, and I led him to the road, and after he saw the way, he went home and stood by the gate till I let him in. The kids all swore that Menifee said he shot and buried Red. He probably said it too. When I was walking back, Menifee said to me, that colt of yours tore some of my fence trying to get to my mare. I put her up though, and he just run up and down the fence all day. So I'll bet he told those kids he shot Red. You know, to get even, because he was mad about two horses trying to fuck. Like it was immoral or something. Lying to kids, that's more like it. The usual stuff adults do. Like pulling fire alarms on Sunday. A little authority. The centurion said, for I am a man under authority with soldiers under me, and I say to one, go, and he goes, and to another, come, and he comes, and to my slave, do this, and he does it. The centurion had faith. That is how centurions and soldiers act, or so we commonly think. We know that the centurion had more authority over himself and the words he said than over what his soldiers and slaves did. He was correctly judged to have had faith that what was given under authority would be done. It's more likely orders will be tried than that orders will be done, because men follow those they fear or trust as far as they can see the advantage in the paths they are told to take. Over the long haul, half of the paths taken will be wrong. They will be the hard road, full of injury and death. All who follow will suffer. Some who follow will die. In other times, when the path is the right one, it may be covered over by the memories of the hard road, and people will despair and lay down in the road. Then, even the faith of the centurion will be lost. Whatever good was sought will have to wait for other people in another time. People who could forgive and forget the hard roads and move on to the next right path. The hidden and the known. I thought about what he said we had in common, a relativist view of the truth. I thought about what he said about reason, an absolutist way to find truth. It was so dull, so academic, so outrageously beside the point. I gazed out from the bedroom window, over the tops of spruce trees and into the crystal clear mountain sky. I knew that men of reason often just stumble onto truth, and their reasons sometimes cover falsehood, like religion paints the face of God. I saw a relativist tiger, cold, fragile, porcelain in the world of absolutes. I saw the absolutist elephant, trunk raised, standing on one foot, applauded by a circus clown. General things. These are general things, and they give rise to general thoughts. There's nothing but humility in the vision of shadows in Plato's cave. There's nothing but common sense and scribbling on the blackboard in Einstein's room. I'm really in despair about this problem. Men marking time, consuming and expelling gases and bio stuff, and doing ceremonial dances. And after marking time, thinking, seeing an absolutely unknowable reality related to everything. It's arrogant to say it's meaningless. That would presume a wisdom we don't possess, a wisdom never claimed by our ancestors. God, I want to despair, but I look out of the window over the spruce trees and into the crystal clear mountain sky, and I ache. I think perhaps it will be today when the trillions of neurons click and fundamental truths, so apparently hidden, will become known. To Sandy when she resigned, roses, 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 then bitter herbs. I had a bursting need to say it all, to have that little talk. I watched you mark it down and draw me out, and the little talk turned to poppycock and wrangle. I twirled a rope around my head and up and down around my body, and I disappeared behind a flashy act, a stepless dance with a useless rope that hid the things I really felt. The whole show was just show. It never really mattered. It wasn't really worth it. This is what I meant to say. I love Frank. He kissed me last Christmas. I love Faye. She hugs me with her laughter. I love Tom. He gives out inspiration. I love Sid. He helps, though you want to choke him. I love Tony. He plugs and does almost what you ask him. I love you. You care about what you're doing. I put down my rope. My legs are folded under me. The dust will finally settle, and there will be Frank, Faye, Tom, Tony, you, and me. Friends. The friends we want to be. Holding on. I've been feeling very melancholy. Years of never being sure of what I've done or what I plan to do will turn out right has taken their toll. I wish money were the solution, but I've had it and it isn't. In the best of times, the cold, broad sword of boredom lies across my chest and makes me afraid to move. The cold it radiates ripples my flesh and dries my tongue. This damn depression is a block to learning anything at all. I can't say I know any art, any science, any language, any skill that another doesn't know better. What I know is the shallowness of my own thinking and the fear that I cannot learn. It's a curse to long to be wise and knowledgeable and good, and yet to be burdened with a certain inadequacy of mind and spirit. Given time, perhaps I could solve this, yet I know the uncertainty of the moment. I know especially the uncertainty of the next 20 years. Should everything end here, I would know at least that I had love, some happiness, and a share of laughter. This is Mel's dedication. It doesn't rhyme, it's not a poem. It doesn't chime, it's not a bell. It must be worthless, it's not in print. Who would buy such silly shit? I'm really confused when I hear things read I understand. It's not like school where they said, due next week, page 6 to 10. Mark the meter, name the type, know the author, read tonight. It's like a conversation. He says things I understand. He paints plain pictures, makes nice sounds, sends cool breezes all around. It's not like any poetry I ever read. It doesn't rhyme. It's lots to tell. It doesn't chime. It's not a bell. Tony. He has a keen mind. He wants a reward. He doesn't know that his mind may be his reward. But he has needs, little needs, a play sword, a few gifts for his family, a nice dinner, a tire for his car, some blacksmith tools, not much, a few things a keen mind deserves. It's not really fair, you know. Reward should have handles and not just yearnings and trips in the mind. The assignment. He said, take this cart. I'll bring the horse later. He knew I was used to pulling the cart while waiting on the horse. Off I went, holding two poles and trotting along, explaining that I was normal, doing what was expected, and my horse was on the way. I had not gone far before two vagabonds hailed a ride and demanded I take them to the nearest bar. Where's that pushy guy? This is his cart. But I bet the shithead sells it as soon as I set it down. Covers and shells. I could hear the steady rush of wind above the bed. It fell over me like an invisible blanket of snow. I was cold, so I could not sleep at all. It was the first time I'd been alone. It was the beginning of the end of my life. I thought about all of the conversations we had had. I could not understand why we did not understand. I could not understand why we were angry. There you were talking and crying, and there I was angry and steel-faced. I performed. I danced. We had loved. We had laughed. But finally we had turned our backs on everything that had been good or bad. We said, is it over? Have we spilled the last drop of blood? Have we killed everything we ever loved? I forgot about the cold blanket of snow. I forgot about the wind falling over my bed. I forgot about our painful conversations. I listened to the rushing sounds above my head. I let the dark close in and claim it's dead. I wrote a poem after I saw a little sign in a bar on the outside when it was not open. Some places it's hurtin'. The Bopper, Fine Foxes Club, is temporarily closed. Go to the Jag Beat just down the street. The economy is done blown out of shape. My saxophone case is covered with tape. Even the Jack Beat is having a tough go. If times don't change, it's gonna blow. In the meantime, the Foxes is all down the street at the club we call the Jack Beat. I be there too with my saxophone blowing. You might as well come if you're going. The club business is gonna come back. Everybody won't find foxes in a sack. And a man gotta have a drink. Why, next year the place be rocking if the whole damn boat don't sink.